Objective 6, multiply and divide real numbers. Procedure: when multiplying or dividing two real numbers, the product or quotient of two numbers that have different signs is negative. The product of quotient of two numbers that have the same sign is positive. In general, if you are multiplying or dividing several numbers together, the product or quotient of several numbers will be negative if there are an odd number of negative numbers. The product or quotient of several numbers will be positive if there are an even number of negative numbers. So for example, perform the indicated operation by hand. Negative 5 times 7, 5 times 7 is 35, and a negative times a positive makes that negative, so the answer is negative 35. Okay, a negative times a negative is a positive, so 9 times 4 gives us positive 36. A positive divided by a negative is going to give us a negative number. 32 divided by negative 4 is equal to negative 8. A negative times a positive is going to be negative, so negative 23 times 12 gives you negative 276. Part E, a negative divided by a positive is going to give us a negative result. Negative 252 divided by 18 is equal to negative 14. A negative times a negative is going to give us a positive. So 2.3 times 0.4 gives us 9.92. So if you look here, we have 2.3 times 0.4. 3 times 4 is 12, carry the 1. 4 times 2 is 9. So we move over 2 decimal places to get the answer 0.92. Continuing here, negative 15 times 0.3 is equal to negative 4.5. Here we have negative 0.24 divided by negative 0.8. So we know a negative divided by negative is going to give us a positive. And so what we can do is we can move the decimal place to the right for the 8 and then also move it in between a 2 and 4 one place and then do the division. So 8 goes into 2.4. 8 goes into 24 3 times, so we have the decimal here, which is 0.3. Next, we have 2/7 times negative 3 over 8. So a positive times a negative is going to give us a negative. We can simplify the 2 and 8 because it has a common factor of 2. So we have a 1 here, and 2 goes into 8 4 times. So 1 times 3 is 3. 7 times 4 is 28. So we have negative 3 over 28. Next, we have 8 over 15. So negative 8 over 15 times negative 3 over 20. So we know that 4 goes into 8 2 times, and 4 goes into 20 5 times. We know that 3 goes into 3 1 time, and 3 goes into 15 5 times. So a negative times a negative is a positive. 2 times 1 is 2, and 5 times 5 gives you 25. Okay, over here we have negative 7 over 15 divided by negative 3/4. So when we divide fractions, we need to turn this to a multiplication and turn this into a reciprocal. So we have negative 7 over 15 times negative 4 over 3. There's nothing for us to be able to simplify. We do, though, that a negative times a negative makes us a positive. 7 times 4 is 28. 15 times 3 is 45, so it's 28 over 45. Next, we have 28 over 81 divided by negative 4 over 18. So we're going to divide by turning this into multiplication and taking the reciprocal, so it becomes negative 18 over 4. And then we can simplify. Well, 4 goes into 28 7 times. 4 goes into 4 1 time. 9 goes into 18 2 times, and 9 goes into 81 9 times. So 7 times 2 is 14. 9 times 1 is 9. And since the positive times a negative, it makes this a negative result. Okay, next it says we want to use a calculator to perform the indicated operation. And then we're going to round the result to 2 decimal places. So here, again, using the negative sign, we got to make sure you use a negative sign and not subtraction, so be careful on the calculator that you're using. And so we take negative 34.57, and we're multiplying that by 678.31, close the parentheses. We want to round that to 2 decimal places. So we get negative 23,449, and it's 0.176. Since this is a 6, we round up to 8, so it's 0.18. Next, we have negative 456.23, and we're dividing that by parentheses negative 67.368, and close the parentheses. So we're going to get 6.77, and the 2 tells us that we keep the same number at 7, so the answer is 6.77. The next example, part C, we have parentheses, use the negative sign, negative 45 divided by 52, close the parentheses, and then we're going to multiply it again by another negative 56, and divide that by 99, and that gives us 0.489, and we're going to round it to 2 decimal places, so we need to rewrite that 8 to a 9, which gives us approximately 0.49. Next, we have 2 fractions here in part D. The first fraction is positive 34 divided by 45, and we're writing that in parentheses, and then we're going to do our division. And then again, the left parenthesis using our negative sign, negative 32, dividing that by 87, close the parentheses, and we get negative 2.054. The 4 tells us that we keep the 5 the same, so we round it to negative 2.05. Objective 7, equal fractions with negative signs. If b does not equal 0, then we can say that negative a over b is also equal to positive a over negative b, which also equals negative a over b. So for example, if our numerator is negative, we have 3 as a negative, and the denominator is a positive 4, it's the same thing as making the numerator 3 to be positive and a denominator negative. That means one of them is negative. Or we can say that the entire fraction is negative, which would be negative 3 over 4.